and surroundings of this area. We ask you this night that thy Spirit might dwell with us to help us as we discuss the items we have on our agenda, that we'll be able to bring in all the information that is available and listen to the opinions and those things that are expressed, that we might be able to study them out and make the best decisions possible for our city. For this time, we ask a special blessing upon those who serve to keep our lives safe and protect us here in our city, our police officers, our firemen and paramedics and other special emergency people. We're so grateful for them and the service that they give to us. We're also very grateful for those who serve in our military in various parts of the world, and pray for them as they strive to help create peace in areas where peace is tough to get a hold of. Again, we thank thee for all the many blessings that we do have, and we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Let's all please arise and join together in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So cute. Okay, we will now move on to our agenda order approval, and this will be for all 3 meetings. Are there any items that the council would like amended or changed from the published agenda? And if not, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as published?
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will now go to council business.
Kid, if you could pull that up for me. And while he does that, Mayor, some folks have asked why I did not sign up for a second term, and my answer is simple, and I'd like the newspaper to quote me: to set a good example for Orrin Hatch.
Oh.
I'm sure that'll be sent along to his office.
I've only lived in this town for 10 years. Maybe it's a long-standing tradition. I don't want to get in the way of anything, but I've been told that the young fellows who use this ball field don't make the trek over here to the restrooms. They're using these trees, and they've been doing that for years.
Can you tell us where that is, where we're looking at?
Highland Drive's to the right.
The Palm Jet Bridge.
This is right behind the Veterans Memorial Park and those.
Tom paid for the paint for that bridge there. Anyway, so I don't know if maybe some outhouses could be put here or something, but apparently that's just too far to run when you got to run.
Nature calls. Huh? Okay.
All right.
Can I just make comment about our parking and parking in the handicap zones? I have a friend and a neighbor who uses the van accessible parking around town. And more than once in recent memory, he has been locked in by people who park in the hashed mark areas next to those van accessible spots. Most recently out at the airport. He's parked there and has to come out that side of his van to get his wheelchair engaged and going. And I don't know, because he's a friend, I just kind of take that personally and just think we could be more cognizant of those spaces and make sure we don't park where we're.
Is that something, Chief, that a ticket can be issued if he can simply provide the plate and a photograph of the offender?
Darren Adams.
The offense taking place?
Darren Adams with the police department. Thank you, Councilmember Rowley. So we try to aggressively enforce handicap parking. In fact, our VIPs now take that on as well. if we have somebody in that area, it's a little bit different where that's not a designated handicap spot. And so it's not regulated. Now it's on a private parking lot. But if they're impeding any way, shape, or form into that handicap spot, then we can address that. So perhaps what we need to do is look at maybe an example and see what's occurring and watch for that. And we can start educating a little bit more as well.
Okay. And if it happens again, I'll just have him
Yeah.
memorialize it.
Yeah, call us when it's occurring, or a picture so we can look at that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other items with the council? No?
Oh, I'm sorry. Saturday morning, 7 to 11, Highway 56. We would like everyone who can come, wear something like Jeff Hunter's wearing there. And come out and help us clean the town up. We will have vests, but if you happen to have a hunting vest or something bright, wear that. Gloves, hat, water, sunscreen.
Yes, that's the kickoff for the Make
Make
Cedar Sparkle.
Yes.
Yes,
Where are we meeting?
it's
Specific-
Saturday,
Near the Wheeler Cat
this
dealership.
Saturday,
Okay.
the 10th, from 7 a.m. to 11. And it's on Highway 56 between Lund, Port 15 by the Wheeler Cat. That's where
We'll
everyone's
have a
meeting.
place where folks can sign in and get vests, and then we're going to close one lane of the traffic, have dumpsters all along there, and have folks just fill those bags with all the trash they can get and put them in those dumpsters and haul it away.
Yes.
Jeff,
We can. Thank you.
Jeff, thank you for the efforts on the manhole raising. Those look good.
Yeah.
I don't have to drive like I'm drunk to swerve. Miss them.
Ridge Road is outstanding.
Yeah.
That was a big improvement.
Great.
Thank you.
And thank you for the sidewalks, some new
Yes, we've done that
sidewalks
one.
in town.
Okay. Are there any other items? One thing I've had a number of people ask is to make sure that we talk into microphones. I've even had people that are in the back of the room say that they can't always hear what's going
I've been
on.
saying to Kit for 3.5 years, but
Yes. So anyways, there are, over the next couple of days, Cedar is going to be crazy busy with different events and activities going on. Thursday, the 8th, so this Thursday, is the opening ceremonies for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games. The opening ceremonies begin at 8:30, but from 4 to 8 p.m., they're doing their KSL block party with food trucks and face painting and games and all of that. And it just says that it will be in front of SUU Centrum. So there's that. And then on both Friday and Saturday, both nights, you have the Cedar City PRCA Rodeo, and it starts at 8 p.m. out at Cross Hollows Arena. And on the 9th and 10th, Friday and Saturday, you have the 37th Annual Paiute Restoration Gathering and Powwow. And Saturday morning at starting at 9 a.m. will be their parade, the Paiute Restoration Parade that will go down Main Street. So make sure that you mark all of that. And for the council's benefit, on June 20th at noon is our joint school district council meetings. It'll start at noon, and we're going to go out and look at the water projects and that. So make sure you mark that one down on your calendar.
We're meeting at the school district office at noon. They're gonna furnish lunch.
Yes. And then for the curiosity, today was the last day to file for offices. And so the candidates for city council are Scott Phillips, Bruce Hughes, Ron Adams, Scott Johnson, Rich Gillette, and Andrew McAfee. And that is for 2 seats that will be up for, it's the seat Fred has and the seat that Ron has. And the mayor is myself, and then Ryan Durfee filed as well. So that is for everyone's information that has,
Is Scott Johnson or Andrew McAfee here today? I don't know them.
I don't think so.
Rich Gillette is here. I don't see Scott, Bruce. There's Ron. Okay.
So,
And there's you.
oh yes, you guys don't get rid of me that easy. You still have to have me here today. Ryan Durfee.
He teaches at the middle school, Cedar Middle School.
Okay, and that I think was all of my part. So now we will move to our staff comments, and we will begin with swearing in of our new police officer.
Oh, who does that without Renault?
Mayor, council, and staff, good evening. Darren Adams with the Police Department. Wait for, yeah, you can come on up.
You can come up, Gary.
Come around here behind us.
It's like me, I have to come up.
Walk
You
up
can
wherever
come
want.
over here,
Right over here.
anywhere back here.
Gives you perfect vantage point. Right?
So we, knock on wood, are fully staffed with Eric here for the first time in quite a long time. And he's the caboose here of this last hiring round and bookending where we're at now. And we appreciate him. He's a great asset to the police department, as you'll find out. He's, I think, 3 weeks, Ryan, into his FTO? Yes. And he's proving to be a great asset. He's also a member of the National Guard and serves in the military as well. And so I'm going to let him introduce himself and his family briefly, and then we'll have the swearing in.
Good afternoon. Again, Eric Heaps. Was born in Cedar, grew up in Virginia, moved back here in 2009, and met my wife, Carrie, while I was attending SUU. My mom lives here as well, and she took my son, Lewis, out because he might make this a mess. So, yep, again, my wife, Carrie, she's from Provo area. I think that's probably it. Okay.
Is she where she can see things happen, your mom?
Well,
Does she know that this is happening right
Grab
now?
her.
Send an officer to locate her.
Without an APB.
might have some background.
Ah, we like
Oh,
that.
that's all right.
That's no difference than usual.
Fred screams all the time.
Oh, you beat me to it.
And with Renan gone,
Yeah,
I
so.
am the one that
Mayor will come up.
Oh.
actually swears them in. We found out there are only certain people that can actually swear in.
Okay.
You have it memorized, Mayor?
No.
Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will obey,
that I will obey,
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah.
that I will discharge the duties
That I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
It's pretty exciting.
See, that's what we need is enthusiasm. Yeah.
And then we'll start.
Welcome aboard. Welcome.
He drives a white pickup.
I do.
With a flag in the back.
We'll go ahead and have the badge pinning now.
Ticket him at will.
That's right.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank
Now
you.
that's a swearing in.
Yeah, cheers.
All right. we can now have Danny, if you want to do your.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to be here tonight to introduce to you the other half of the Department of Economic Development. Had a great search and found an outstanding candidate in Brad Abrams, who joined us this week, and I've already got him running all over the county visiting businesses, and I look forward to having him here, but I'll let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about himself.
Does the job description have a specific haircut
Yes.
required? Okay.
We all three of us have that haircut.
I see collusion.
Yeah, I do.
I'm Brad Abrams, and I'm from Parowan. My mom's from Parowan, and my grandpa's from Parowan, and my great grandfather's from Parowan as well. And I'm grateful to be here. I'm honored to serve here. I understand what it's like not to have a job, and I understand that economic growth is pivotal to getting those jobs. And I love this area, and I love that people can find work here and have a healthy lifestyle. And I think that's important. And so I'm grateful to be a part of the Cedar City Corp and contribute where I can.
So funny. Hey.
Yeah. Needs that help.
It's nice to have some kids in here to mix it up every once in a while. All right. Brian? Other than those ones.
Mayor and Council, my name is Brian Dangerfield, and I resemble that remark about the haircut. I want to let the Mayor and Council and the city know that tomorrow is actually Olympic Day in Cedar City. The U.S. Olympic Committee has given us some flags, and tomorrow we're going to have a booth at the KSL street show. I can't remember what they call it. Block party. There you go. And we'll have some games to play there, and we'll have people be able to hold up these Olympic Day flags, and it's a hashtag Olympic Day, hashtag Cedar City events. And we're trying to get as many people as possible to use that and just blow up Twitter with Cedar City on Olympic Day. We're doing this a little earlier. Olympic Day is officially on June 24th. It's celebrated throughout the internationally, but the U.S. Olympic Committee lets us kind of pick our date with a big event. So on a serious note, I wanted to kind of read a statement about some things that happened at the cemetery over Memorial Day, if you don't mind. On behalf of the cemetery sexton and our department, we are very sorry for the lack of execution to prepare the cemetery for Memorial Day weekend. We regret having brown spots in areas that weren't trimmed or mowed recently and sod not laid in a timely fashion. These conditions were not up to the standards that I expect, our Parks and Outdoor Facilities Division head expects, our cemetery sexton expects, and most importantly, our city leaders and our cemetery patrons expect. We realize on Memorial Weekend we have hundreds of people. While I was out there, we had a lot of people came up and they thanked us for what we did, but there were others that came up and said that they were disappointed in the conditions that they had. We let you down. Our management and execution system failed, and we need to stick to a regimen of planning and doing and reporting that keeps us on top of the health of the turf, the number of weeds, the watering, and the scheduling and frequency of the mowing and trimming. I will not attempt to excuse the performance, but to make a commitment that things will change for the better at the Cedar City Cemetery once we've rectified the situation, which the only acceptable thing is clean cut and green, and only then that we ask that cemetery patrons be forgiving of the performance. So as part of this process, we would ask that we had a group come, and we've been meeting all year after last year, a group called the Friends of the Cedar City Cemetery, and I wanted to thank Sylvia Bullock and Natalie Beecham and her family for coming out and helping people find their graves. They had a great time. They passed out information. I'm going to leave this here if anybody in the audience is interested. It was directions on how people can put out their decorations, and they had until June 6th to come and pick up their decorations. And then right now we're doing a thorough cleaning, a trimming and cleaning. of the cemetery. So we'll give you reports, and of course, our actions speak out there, and you'll see when we start seeing improvements out there, and we're going to get a report on how long it's going to take to get it up to where we feel it should be.
Brian, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you, taking responsibility. Just, I think the biggest thing this year was communication. And I think any one of us up here would have come out with our own motors and trimmers if we'd have known. We just didn't know. So just communicate, it's all. And if we need to get all hands on deck, I know the mayor's said, that we've got a good plan going, and I appreciate that.
Appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On another matter, I was at the pool a couple of days ago. Chris said that the water heater for the splash pad area was intermittently
down.
operating.
Yes.
Has that been taken care of?
They fixed that this morning.
What was the general?
Yeah, there was just some gunk in the fluids, and it kept jamming things up, and somehow they fixed that. They kept jimmying around.
In the natural gas or in the water that was going?
In the water heater itself.
Okay.
He'd have to come and explain that to you in
Okay.
full detail, but he
Okay.
told me this morning they've been on it. He has a little alarm on his phone that lets him know what the temperature of the water is, and we're grateful for that kind of technology. We're hoping to have all of our parks with that
You mentioned
as well.
that was sort of on the fritz too, that he wasn't getting the notice that it was shutting down, and so he wasn't able to so we're back in business.
Yes, we are, as of
It never
today.
really,
but
it wasn't really, it was probably swimming lap cold. It wasn't deathly cold, but it was probably a little chillier than a toddler wanted to deal with. Although there were a couple of toddlers in there dealing with it, so. Okay, thank you.
There were
That's
some
good news.
swimming lessons, a little chilly, that's for sure. But it's great to see the facilities being used. I want to thank the Parks Department for putting the flower baskets up on Main Street. We always get a lot of great comments about that. Main Street is busy every weekend. We actually have a cycling event that's coming through here. They're coming from Moab at the same time, well, just a little after the 5K for the summer games and the powwow parade. So there's going to be a little confluence of activity right there at 200 North and Main Street. We're a little worried about, but the cyclists will obey all traffic laws, and there's going to be a lot more cycling events like this come through town. You'll see a lot of cycling groups come through. They won't close down any streets or anything, but they'll be riding through town. So, any other questions?
Can we get a copy of that letter
Yes.
to go with the minutes and all that? And truly, thank you to Brian and Wade. You all know Wade, for their action and
Wade, did I see a miss, or were there some more trees being planted out at the park besides what we did on Arbor Day?
hey, Wade, you didn't think you were going to have to speak, did you?
Wade Orem, Parks Division Head. I'm not sure which area you're talking
Well,
about.
East of the playground, we planted one tree by a bench, and then a couple of weeks later, there was another tree going
Yes,
in.
we did. We did plant another tree there as well, looking at it and surveying where the sun's coming through. And we're like, you
Oh,
know what, we need
excellent.
actually another tree here to create a little bit more shade
Perfect.
for that. On the same note, we had a young gentleman come in wanting to do an eagle project. We suggested planting some trees up around the playground at the Little League field. So on Friday morning, he'll have his group of scouts out there, and we're going to be planting 4 sycamores up around that, trying to diversify our tree inventory to make sure that we are a little bit more diverse in our trees.
That was a nice picture of the new rope.
Yes, yeah, that is now taken care of. So hopefully that is not vandalized again, because that is a very costly replacement.
And the kids love it.
And the kids did love it. So
Yeah, it's a steel cable in there.
Anyways, thank you so much for
Okay.
all of your efforts. All right, are there any other staff comments? No?
Honestly.
Okay, then we will move on to our public agenda with our public comment portion. If there is anyone that would like to address the council, now is your opportunity. Yes.
Thanks, Mayor. My name is Rich Gillette. I did file for city council, and I got just 2 comments. I just want to update you with a couple of things. The block party happening tomorrow night is something that I've been involved with for almost 30 years. It'll be an event, the Larry H. Miller Summer Games, from 4 to, well, about 7:45. And the Lions Club will be doing free drinks In the years past, as you've all known, we've done pizza, but we're not doing pizza this year. But we do have free drinks, and we'll be selling tickets for the opening ceremonies. So just, I guess there's a lot of things going on. It's going to be new for me too. This is a whole new thing. It's been a long time since I've had to not do anything other than serve drinks. So next item is in a couple of weeks, we're going to have the 4th of July. I just want to let you know that we're working on that. The 4th of July parade is set up. We've got the park reserved. Nice to meet you, Wade. We can look forward to a fantastic event on the 4th of July, which is a Tuesday, second Tuesday. And so I don't have to go to planning commission, so that'll be good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Rich.
you.
Appreciate it.
Mayor, Councilman Isom was under the impression that the council primary was in June, but I told him it's in August. Am I correct?
Primary, if you give me about 3 seconds, I can tell you the actual date.
15. Yes, yes.
Primary election is Tuesday, August 15th.
Oh, August, okay.
The general election is Tuesday, November 7th.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I did think of something that I'd like to bring up. I felt to. I reached out to Wheeler Machinery this week and thanked their salesperson for the donation of the equipment for the recharge project out west. And I thought a letter would be appropriate to them, maybe to them, and maybe to Western Rock as well for the use of their pit this year for the flood mitigation project. Could we do that? Put a couple letters on the city letterhead and recognize them and give
Maybe
them
to Phil Schmidt for his operators?
Yes, and Phil as well for his donation of the operator for 2 days.
If you can get me some information,
Okay. That'd be good.
then
I wanted
And
to stop into Wheeler Cat today.
I got
but
the
didn't
other
know
one
who to
mailed.
talk to,
Oh, you did.
yes.
so I'll need to get a name.
I
So-
called and talked to him. What's that?
And the other one, she.
Then we
has
got the
been
one to the league mailed.
To ULCT.
Oh, good.
So, yes. So yeah, if you can just get me information with those, I can get it all taken
I
care
could
of.
put together a few ideas if you'd like
Perfect.
and get you the information.
Yep, that would be fantastic.
Thank you. Maybe we could do it, maybe put on city letterhead, but maybe in conjunction with the water district, thank those people.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the council at this time? Seeing no one, then we will move on to our business agenda with our public portion first. Item number 1, public hearing to consider an ordinance making the Country Meadow Phase 2 PUD Second Amendment plat. With Jay. And Tyler.
My name is Jay Adams, Adams Surveying. And this area that we're vacating is what was left over when we amended this on the Second Amendment of Country Meadows. It was vacated once, but this right here, these two pieces was traded for the enlargement we had to do for this block in Country Meadows. So this is covering these two pieces now, so it covers the whole thing.
So it just cleans up.
Yeah, just cleans it up.
As of right now, aren't those pieces are just in no man's land and we have to have them attached to something, right?
Well, they actually were sold with that when we did the Third Amendment.
Oh, okay.
So they are covered.
Okay.
Is there anything else to add, or are there any other questions from the council? Okay, then where this is a public hearing, we will now open the public hearing if there's anyone that would like to address the council on this item. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and move this on to our action agenda. Okay, item number 2, public hearing to consider the sale of city property located east of the Aquatic Center at 2090 West Royal Hunt Drive.
That piece of property is between.
Jim Park, hello, Mayor and council members, Mr. Bittman and others. Thank you for reconsidering my wife and I's desire to purchase the property that's basically in red there behind our home. Some of the council members may remember about 7 or 8 years ago, the city paid Brad Schmutz to appraise that property. He appraised the property at $1 a square foot. It's 8,100 square feet there. and that would have been $8,100. I came in and I made a bid at that time. It was less than that. It was rejected. What Mr. Smoots failed to do in the appraisal was factor in the underground utilities and fiber optic lines that are there. So my wife and I, paid Mr. Smoots to reappraise the property after we had Utah Blue Stakes come up there and stake it. And we learned that there were fiber optic lines there, there's utility lines. And so what I learned after talking to a reputable contractor, Mr. Sean Ecker, is that he has dealt with independent contractors to move those lines, but to move them only 15 feet would cost my wife and I $30,000 to $40,000 just to move them. But my proposal is still, I would like to do that. And with the new appraisal that I hope that you have, I gave a copy to, I think, Mr. Romrell, and hopefully you guys have seen it. The fair market value, at least according to Mr. Schmutz, is $3,888. And my wife and I would be glad to pay that. There would be one other issue, however, and that's where the red comes down to the road. I would need a easement or a right-of-way from the city, because that's where we would put in a gate to tie in my home to the aquatic center to get rid of the eyesore that we've had for many, many years now. And clean it up and make it look nice. If you want to know what my wife and I's plans are for the property, I would be glad to tell you.
A spaghetti garden?
A spaghetti garden. I actually talked to Mr. Eckert and I said, well, can I at least plant grass? And he said, probably not. And I said, why? And he said, because those lines are only running about 16 to 18 inches deep, and any landscaper is not going to touch it, because if you hit it while you're putting in a sprinkler line, they're going to be responsible for the damage that they did. And he said, depending on the damage they do, it could be, $10,000, $20,000. So what Tori and I would like to do is this would be a 2-year project for us because of the extra expense. So, by the time we paid to have those lines removed, we come back toward the east wall, which would then be my backyard, the wall that the city paid for and put in. We would tear out my yard. I would like a gate that goes in off the main road. And our plan is to rip out, and I don't know if you can see it or not. Oh, I didn't. Thanks, Tom. How do I do it?
Just right there.
Got it. So we'd want to put the gate right there. And then that's a trampoline, that round thing there. And then that's a casita. So we would tear all of that out. We would like to put in a pool. We would like to put in a casita with a pool house. We would like to put in a basketball court. And we would like to probably put in a garden toward the end of my detached garage, which is right there. That's going to be expensive, but we would do it. It would take us about 2 years to do it, but it would look beautiful. It would tie into the aquatic center. The other issue, though, guys, and I'd be willing to do this, is there's only 1,800 feet from here to there. That's the Osborne residence. That's Rick and Nancy Osborne. It's a very little strip. But if the city would sell me the entire thing, the 8,100 plus the 1,800 square feet behind the Osbornes, my wife and I would give that to the Osbornes. They're good neighbors. I've known Nancy since I was in junior high school. They've been great neighbors. And we've talked about it. They would want to put a fence in between our respective properties, have a gate. They want to put in a garden, some additional grass. We could really do some neat things with something that's been nothing but an eyesore. And with that said, I will pay the fair market value of the $3,888. I would need that easement so that I could at least have a drive there. The only thing I'd be talking about is basically leveling off the sidewalk so that we could pull in because the property goes to the sidewalk. Or I would offer what's slightly more than fair market value, at least according to Mr. Schmidt's appraisal, $5,000 for all of it, the 8,100 behind my home, the 1,800 square feet behind the Osborne's home, and I would deed that to the Osbornes. I'd be glad to answer any questions any of you may have of me.
The sooner the better. I see that every day when I come out of that parking lot, and I would love to see that under tillage, so to speak, under cultivation.
Do we have another appraisal on this other than the 3,888?
Yeah, so the city went out and got our independent appraisal, and it came back at $9,500.
What?
$9,500. So here's my reading of the two. This is what I think where the difference may lie. The city's appraisal doesn't take into consideration an easement, whereas those fiber optic lines are in Jim's. The other thing that I believe our appraisal did is it took in consideration all the land that goes back up behind that Lake of the Hills. And then it took a fair market value of all that land and then divided it by the square footage and determined what that small strip should be. The small strip is going to be, minus that piece behind the Osborne's home, is going to be less than 10,000 feet or 10,000 square acres.
Square feet.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So there's
The total, yeah, the
Yeah.
total would be 81 plus 18, so it'd be right
buying
about
it if
that.
it's
Yeah.
so there's not much, you couldn't build on it. Right?
How did that ever happen to get there to start with? That we have a really skinny little road, a big chunk of that being unused at all.
You want to tell
Didn't
that
sell
one?
it to me 7 years ago.
You want to tell
I'm
that
kidding,
one?
I'm kidding. What's that?
You remember that story?
I do, because I didn't want the road to be right next to my
Okay,
fence.
all right.
So
now
I
you're
guess you
willing-
can blame me, so
now
I'll
you're
pay
willing
extra.
to have that, huh?
Well, you know, the reality is it is an eyesore, and the funny thing is I've had people irritated with me wondering why I haven't done anything with it, and I have to tell them I don't own it. I've tried to purchase it, but I'm going to do it the right way. I got a new appraisal, and I'll do what I can do. And so, gentlemen, Miss Mayor, you don't have a name tag in front of you, so I don't know what to call you. Tony and I would really like to do it, and we would tie it into the aquatic center. That place would be beautiful. You wouldn't have to look at that anymore.
Do you want to do that?
So what we'll need to do is next week, if the council's inclined to move forward with this, we'll go into a closed session. You'll let me know what value to put in the RFP as the minimum amount. The RFP will be open for a couple weeks where you can put in your bid for it. And yeah.
You send.
Okay, so more than just today. Once that comes out, then
You just
okay.
do a letter reiterating what you told us tonight.
And should I do it for the total amount, or just my piece and the other piece, or both? I mean,
I would
okay.
both.
I think it would be better if all of
And
it was
then-
purchased, just so you don't have 1,800 square feet of weeds.
Zoning
but-
so that, well, I mean, so that they can have two different owners, not the zoning, the property.
You know, I would pay for that with the Osmonds.
Yeah,
We'd figure
okay,
that out
you
when we
guys-
went
you
through the
guys
title
just-
company, because
well,
if you guys end up selling
so
it to
that
me,
it
I'll
can be
let them know.
Split.
Yeah.
Is that, can it
Yeah.
be split without too much?
Yeah, we could.
Okay,
So,
beautiful.
okay.
Thank you.
So
Any
yes.
other questions
So
that-
that's kind of the, the process. So after next week,
We should be
we'll do the
paying
closed
them.
session. Then
Okay.
Tyler will
And
work with you.
I'll send you an email.
Okay, thank
with
you.
the RFP.
Thank you for your time.
I got a crazy,
Yes.
oh, go ahead, Terry.
No.
Mm.
No, the gate would open in toward the property, because I couldn't have a gate that would open out into the road, but it will in no way open toward the aquatic center. It would open inward toward the property. Road, yes, sir.
It would just open up into his private property.
From the main street. It
Off of
wouldn't
Royal.
even open up towards the aquatic center. It'd be the Royal.
Gate into his yard.
Perfect.
Let me mention something. This will be ugly, but do we need to put in, when we get ready to draft this, some kind of a variance for the wall height if that property becomes his ownership or whoever?
I don't think we'd sell him the wall.
Well, we wouldn't, but I'm just wondering, is there any reference needed there for the public who knows that the ordinance reads 6 feet and we put that 8-foot sound wall in? I don't know, I'm just asking.
It'd still be our wall.
Right,
We'd be the only ones violating our own ordinance
okay.
at that point.
I didn't want them coming after him and saying, well, you got an 8-foot wall, even though the city owns it. I know that, but I'm just saying.
I'll buy right to the wall, but the wall would be our backyard. I mean, it truly would be the wall.
And that's the only reason I'm asking the
I
question.
appreciate that.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Where this is a public hearing, we will now open the public hearing if there's anyone. Hey,
Brad Green, citizen. I just wanted to get up and say how wonderful it would be to have that under private management and care. I think the differences in the appraisals. I mean, I've done a lot of appraisals. I've owned a lot of property. The fact that there are utility lines and things underneath that have to be moved before you can actually maintain and handle the property dramatically lowers the value. In the nature of supply and demand, it also seems that really only two people have a strategic interest, that any kind of interest in the property, or, you know, there may be somebody in the marketplace that would want to buy it only to extort a higher value from those two houses. It seems extremely reasonable proposal. I would encourage the council to vote in favor.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to address the council? If not, then we will close the public hearing. And this will go, we'll have this with next week, and we'll have it with our public session, with our closed session and everything. Okay, item number 3, public hearing to consider a general land use amendment to adjust the street master plan for Eagle Ridge area.
The property owner of, the original property owner of the Eagle Ridge area that basically goes from Eagle Ridge subdivision out to Westview Drive came in to me and requested that we do some, well, in some instances slight, and in other instances kind of major modification to our street master plan. And what he wanted to do is, first of all, he wanted to eliminate this road that went through his property from east to west, from the county subdivision down to South Mountain Drive. And he just wasn't sure if that road was going to fit in well with his development. So that's proposed to be eliminated. We had changed the master plan so that this road would connect someplace to just come out and tie onto Westview Drive through that, on that existing 66-foot corridor that's in that county subdivision. The other modification he wanted to do is the original master plan had this had a road coming into here and just going to the top of this hill and tying into a master plan road that comes down through this valley. He would like to take that master plan road and basically follow the sewer easement that where the sewer runs right now and ties into Eagle Ridge, ties into South Mountain Drive. That alignment would take that master plan road through that big sewer cut that you see out there just off the side of the freeway.
Would that have to be widened?
To eventually go out to the full width of the master plan road, which I believe is 55 feet. It would be, but to put the 2 lanes that he would be required to put down there, there's enough width to do that.
So if
That's not, none of these master plan roads happen until development. So
have what?
They don't have, the construction doesn't happen until development on all these.
So if the day came that would have to be widened, who would be on the hook to widen it?
Well, it could possibly be the city. He would be putting in his 2 lanes, and then if it's a master plan road, then the city would be eligible for impact fees, as being part of the master plan to
That
do
would
that
be
widening.
I mean, so he gets by with putting it in without having to cut through 500 feet of basalt, and then we need to widen that, and we're on the hook for it. That would be a sad situation.
Yeah, and that's a concern I had when he was wanting to do that. But it does make sense to run that along the sewer line.
It's a great
where
place
we're
to
gonna-
have the road. I've always wished it would go through there, but if we're the ones that would eventually, is that, there's school property out there and all sorts of stuff. And if that ever had to be widened, and all these guys have already done their share, and it fell to us to widen it, that would be a big mess.
So we're showing it as a 55-foot wide master plan street. He'd end up Well, I'd have to see exactly what he would end up paying, but the impact fees would pay for a good portion of that widening.
Impact fees from the whole city, right?
Yeah.
Or just that development?
No, we
From
don't
the whole
have
city.
impact fees
Yeah.
in areas. Ours are citywide.
Right. So that could put a serious tap on those fees.
So. Other thoughts, comments? Concerns? This will have to go on the action agenda for next week.
Did you have the hearing?
No, I'm just
Oh,
we're
okay.
just kind of seeing if there's anything else and letting you know the questions. Okay, with this item, we will now have our public hearing. If there is anyone that would like to address the council on this issue? Okay. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. All right. You
Very practical to have that.
still look confused over there.
15 through that cut.
Yes, no?
That basalt it just breaks machinery.
Anything? Are there any other comments, questions? Okay. Then this will go on our action agenda. Item number 4, consider approving the final plat for the Fairview subdivision. Yeah.
Good evening, council and city staff. Tim Watson with Watson Engineering. We have met the requirements for and have finalized the construction drawings for the Fairview subdivision. We came to you several months ago with the vicinity plan and also came back and asked you regarding an existing 6-inch water line that sat here in 2050 West Street that has been approved to relocate. We appreciate your consideration with that. At this time, now that we've met all the requirements for the construction drawings, we're asking for a final plat approval for this subdivision. The entire subdivision will be platted in one phase. And that's what the construction drawings reflect as well.
In our package, it talked about a title report that we were awaiting. We're good.
The title report is still in process. Visiting with Tyler from yesterday at Planning Commission. We're very close to getting that title report. If it doesn't come in, hopefully this week, then we'll postpone the final voting until the 2 weeks after that.
And I would be fine. I mean, if we get it right before next Wednesday's meeting, I'll look through it quickly. And even if we don't, if the council's fine voting, then I just won't have it signed or recorded until I've looked at that.
Okay.
Putting pressure on me. Thank you. I work, deadlines. That's just what it is, right?
All right. Are there other questions, comments? Then what about if we put this on the action agenda so we can wait and have all the pressure on you?
That's fine.
All right, consider approving final plat for the Cedar Woods subdivision.
Again, Tim Watson with Watson Engineering. We also have met the construction and final plat requirements for phase 1 of Cedarwood Estates, PUD. Shown on the screen is the vicinity plan. What we are proposing is 16 units. We have building, if you look here, building A, B, C, and D in phase 1. So there'll be four buildings, 4 units per building. We finally met the requirements for the irrigation company in this section of town. That was quite the process, and we've also met the other requirements set forth per the ordinance. One item that we're asking a variance for tonight is section 32-84M in the PUD CCNR declarations.
There's a statement in there that indicates that we cannot have more than 30% rentals in a PUD. The property owner, the developer, is planning on keeping all of these townhomes for his family and his individual use, whether there will be rentals or not. I would anticipate yes, but the reason why we propose townhomes is if the developer chooses to sell off a building or give a building to some of his family members, he wanted that flexibility at a future time. And so the anticipation, as this property sits at 400 North and in between 300 West and 400 West, there's currently quite a few rentals and apartments. There's a 13-plex just to the north of it and some other rentals there. There's a high, there's 100% rental anticipation with this PUD. But the reason why we went through the townhome process is to be able to transfer those units or sell those units off at a future time to family members or other people. And so there is, we would ask for a variance with that CC&R declaration of allowing 100% rentals if needed or if decided to by the developer.
So anybody who was deeded a property or bought a property, they would be fully aware of that.
It would be included in the CC&Rs, yes, sir.
So we put that in a number of years ago. Here's the reason why we put it in. If this council wants to take it out of the ordinance, we can do that too. But we were getting a lot of PUDs coming in. The PUDs don't have the public infrastructure. They typically have somebody that has to collect fees and maintain the landscape and the parking areas and whatever else is in there. The concern was if they were all rentals, you wouldn't have an active HOA and they would be less likely to be maintained. They would fall into disrepair. So there would be a problem with that PUD being in disrepair and dragging down everybody around it. The other part of that was once they get into disrepair and you haven't had a functional HOA collecting dues to get them out of disrepair, they don't have any money to get out of disrepair, and the only one they look to get them out of disrepair is Cedar City. So that's why we put the limitation on rentals in the PUD ordinance. If the council is of a mindset to change that, we can change that. That's fine, but that's why it's there.
The other thing is, it's my understanding that with the PUD, it can be in any zone. So you don't, one of the reasons why I think this was put in as well is because we may not want a bunch of residential or rentals in an R1 zone. And so this would limit that if someone decided to put a PUD right next to an R1 or in the middle.
Well, I'll just, first of all, I need to disclose that I'm working on this project professionally. But the other thing I'd like to mention is that this when they finish this project, it'll never look so good. I mean, it's cleaning up that part of town, and it's going to be a huge improvement. So.
Well, and I don't know that we want to change categorically that 30% limitation. Maybe in this one-off situation, yes, but I don't. You know, for the reasons you just described, Mr. Bittman, I don't think we want to throw the baby out with the bath and change the ordinance.
Councilman Isom, that makes perfect sense. If I can refresh your memory, this property is zoned mixed use, so we have the flexibility there with that. But that makes sense.
Is this sitting just east of the church?
Yes, sir.
Or west of the church, I should say?
No, it'd be east of the church. You have over here on the west side of 400 West, you have some apartment buildings, and then there is an LDS chapel right next to on the west side of that.
It's the one already under construction, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
One building is under construction and almost finished.
Was there a house on the? Is this? I'm just trying to is this the one that had the house on the corner that had not been sold yet? And
Yeah, so
then
it was
sold?
purchased, it was purchased at the vicinity plan, if you recall. We
Yeah.
came back for an
Okay.
amended vicinity plan.
And I'm
This
a
home
little
here?
confused because it looks like the guy's getting ready to plant a garden. Is he not moving for a while? Is that part not going to be?
You know, at this
Yeah.
point, I think that they've allowed him to stay in the home for
A
as long as
period
he
of
would
time?
like. But there is a proposed
Okay, yeah.
additional building
Yeah.
where that home.
Okay, so I'm finally, this is the place we're talking about, and
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes.
It's almost nothing but rentals in that area,
Yeah, I don't see a problem.
and a great improvement to the entire area as well, this project.
According to the vicinity plan, we will have future phases that we will have to come back through. The majority of the infrastructure will be put in with this first phase for those other units inside the block. Any other questions at this time?
With that, so they can do that? Okay, we will put this on the action so that we can have an appropriate motion with everything.
And if I can, for the record, make sure that with next week, when we have that motion, that we do consider that variance for the 30% rentals.
That's why we want it on that one.
Thank you.
What has happened to this internet? It's about 10 times faster than it's ever been. Did you do something?
Yeah, it was me. No, I'm just kidding.
Easy. You're just holding your mouth right now.
Wow.
Brad Green. As someone whose family owns more land in that part of town than anybody else, we welcome a subdivision like that. What has been proposed looks wonderful. Really, there are a ton of rentals down in there, but that old part of Cedar City could really use some capital employed by people that are willing to develop something nice. As far as rentals go, it's okay that smaller developers are able to get things done and not just huge high-rise apartments down by the Levitt Group. I like the Levitt Group stuff. I love supplying them plumbing supplies. But it would be wonderful to have some new, fresh development down in there. And I would also encourage the council to consider Mr. Watson's suggestion of reviewing that 30% rule. I think it does stifle construction, even if only slightly in some areas. I think it could dramatically increase the economic movement. Now, I think that there is an argument to be made that people may act poorly with that extra freedom, and I think that they should suffer the consequences of their ignorance. I think we should let them.
We may be the ones that suffer those consequences.
Well, you only suffer the consequences that you allow in your life. I think if somebody builds a subdivision and they don't, do the extra work to make sure that it stays nice, then that's on them. And I think if they come along and say, "Hey, I made a mistake, fix my problem," you have to let them fix it themselves. Let them suffer. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
May I speak for one moment?
Have I ever stopped you before, as long as you state your name?
Good evening, Tom Jett. I believe it's probably bad public policy. Well, first, Tom Jett is my name. Thank you, Mayor. I forgot that like 3 seconds. I think it's bad public policy to give it a variance for one project. I think it's where that creates a hodgepodge that comes back and affects the community economically. Who's getting what variances, who's aren't getting a variance, which one applies, which one it doesn't apply. There's absolutely no consistency for staff or the general public at large, who are mostly ignorant to many of these idiosyncrasies in ordinances or in CC&Rs, that I think it creates some problems. Number two, I've been attending these meetings for at least a year now, maybe 20 almost. And I don't recall one project where the city has actually come in and taken over PUDs. And we've been asked to take over some PUDs that have failed and haven't done well. But our council and staff and leadership in the city, and historically, and there might be an exception that I missed or that I'm not recalling, have always said, no, this is a private subdivision. And as Mr. Green said, people have to live with the consequences. I think we are somewhat saying that people that own a property is going to let their property not go to seed, but if they have an investor, they are going to go to seed. Well, I don't think that's necessarily the case. And I appreciate the fact that we're willing to consider variances, but again, I stand by my thought that I think it's probably bad public policy to individually hodgepodge our city. It goes back to a comment that I made approximately 3 months ago on another development. When it comes to the planning of our city, I think we need to set a direction, stick with the direction, and let the public deal with the consequences as we all make our own decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kenneth Young, and I work for and represent Mr. James Andrus, who is the owner of the proposed site. I would like to give you a little bit of history and a little bit of background on how this has evolved to this point, if you'll indulge me. Mr. Andrus is not a land developer. He's not in the business of developing subdivisions and reselling them or putting it up there and for economic gain. The property there, the 13 units, that this area right in here, he purchased those 13 units back in the fall of 2015. As we finished the completion and the final inspection, we were leaving and he noticed the condition of some of those two homes to the south of that right in here. And he said, my goodness, those are pretty run down. What have I gotten myself into? And so we looked and they were for sale. He acquired that ground. And if you look at it, it's the same size as the property that he acquired, 0.57 acres. And so he bought that property thinking that maybe he could make some improvements and to maybe expand his opportunities for that. As we looked into that, we were under the impression, or from the real estate agent at that time, that that was zoned, the current zoning would accommodate up to 26 units per acre. And so he went ahead and acquired that property. We also found that the property behind it, this area here on 400, was also available, and he subsequently acquired that. And then he acquired the other two pieces from Mr. Holyoke here on 400 North in this small home here. And with the help of Watson Engineering, we designed and come up with an area and a project that would facilitate what he feels is a need for Cedar City. Mr. Andrus attended the SUU, and he's got a fondness for this city, and he feels like this growth potential and the demand for adequate housing is good, but he's not into student housing or even putting together he's focused so far in his investments on properties and products that would provide 3-bedroom units and a little larger to fill the need, the much needed need for housing for people like married students and young professionals and starting. After we did that, we remodeled this home in here, and we've currently got that rented to one of the employees of Wells Fargo Bank. And he's pleased with it. In fact, he just called and wants to renew his lease for another year, even though he knows that the construction is starting. We took these two homes over here on 400 North, and we demolished those. Prior to demolishing them, we allowed this police department went in and did some practice and training in one of the homes, and the fire department went in and did training on the other home, and then we demolished them down, and that's where we built the fourplex, or the 4 units there. The reason and the thing that brought us to the PUD approach wasn't and we were really unaware of the 30% rule. I understand the 30% rule, and I know a lot of the reasons for that 30% rule, and part of it is financing. A lot of banks and Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, they will not make loans in projects where there's more than 30% of the project is rentals. But this doesn't apply to Mr. Andrus. He wanted to go with the PUD to accommodate the 3-bedroom product. There were parking issues on the regular zoning, and we decided and made the decision that that would probably be the best and highest use for that property, and to provide a good upgrade to the community, to the property, and he's committed to it. So far today, Mr. Andrus has spent about $2 million in developing the product and remodeling the 2 homes that are there, and building this fourplex plus the acquisition of the 13 units. And he's used his own cash for that. So it's not like he's looking for a fast turn to flip it and leave it, or in no way leave any responsibilities on the city or put any burden on the city. He's appreciative of the work and the support both from the council and the staff. You've been very helpful, and we're grateful for that. And we would really much appreciate your support in this motion.
I hope he understands that when we pass an ordinance, it applies equally to everybody, and
of course,
and we don't have the Andrus ordinance and then the Jet ordinance, and
yeah,
the Watson ordinance.
And he doesn't want to come across.
That would be a bad ordinance. If it was the
Yeah.
Watson ordinance, it would be sketchy all the way around, man.
Yeah, but to make the master plan for his intent work, he needs that flexibility to be able to rent them out. I know he would not oppose the provision that if it ever did condominiumize or turn into individual units, that 30% rule would and should apply to protect the integrity of it. But for the use and the intent of the dwellings that are there now would be for rental purposes. And probably he's 73 years old, and probably in the next 15, 20 years, he'll probably start breaking those off. He's got 5 children, and he'll probably give maybe a dwelling to each one of the children. He wants to provide some income and posterity for them. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
I don't think so. Thank you so much. No.
Brad Green. Just because it's rare, I figured I'd get up and make sure that everybody understood that Tom and I agreed. Again, this is extremely rare.
This is like twice
It's
ever.
twice ever.
I will mark this moment.
I agree very much that it's bad public policy to make exceptions for one at a time. I definitely agree with everything Tom said. I would like to add a little bit of experience. In the state of Utah, rentals to newlywed college students are among the best kept rental units statewide. Outside of Utah, that's not quite the same. There's a little bit of a cultural difference between newlyweds in Utah that are going to college and newlywed college students outside of Utah. My experience, I'm not that old, but I've been doing real estate for 15 years. My experience is that the newlywed college student rentals are the finest kept real estate because of the demands of our newlyweds in the state of Utah. And so any concerns that may be had there, again, being specific about one development over another isn't very useful, but and it's bad public policy, as Mr. Jett explained very well. But any fears that you may have about newlywed rentals going sour, my experience is that that's very unlikely. Thank you.
Okay. We will, like I said, we'll put this on the action agenda for that part. We'll move to our staff portion with item number 6, review bids for the cemetery office building.
Trevor McDonald, City Engineering, Mayor, City Council. A few years ago, we conceptualized a plan to create a cemetery office building to renew that area down there and hopefully phase out the old building and clean that area up, provide use for future burial plots or its future uses in the cemetery. The space that we conceptualized was 720 square feet. We budgeted based on that amount, $121,000. Then we got an architect on board. The requirements that he put in there, such as ADA and just the space that we wanted to put in there, it grew a little. It grew to 1,124 square feet. And some other ideas came up during this design process. We wanted paved parking, so the visitors could park in front of the building and access the building without walking across the lawn. We set those plans out to bid. During the bidding process, the city reviewed the plans again, and we noticed some areas we could improve upon and provide potential value for the cemetery. One of which is a restroom that would better accommodate cemetery visitors. And so we thought, well, we need to throw that into the plans. There's some minor changes with lighting and doorways and access into the back part of the office building where we wanted the front to be more public accommodating, but we don't want visitors wandering to the back and going through stuff that may or shouldn't be publicly accessible. So we added some changes to the plans there. We thought it would be best if we take the low bid and allow him to quote those changes before we present the revised bid to City Council instead of awarding a bid and then turning right back around with a change order and having you award a change order or approve a change order. So the low bid on the design that the architect presented us was Dual A Construction. They're a local contractor. And we allowed him to quote those changes. The revised low bid with the quote included is $191,355.
That's with the paved parking lot and all?
Yes, that's all of the changes that we added to it. So the paved parking, the public accommodating restroom, and the minor improvements that we made to the plans that we caught after we bid it out. So. Now with those changes and also talk of a columbarium to be installed behind the cemetery, the total of all of those projects comes to an estimated budget addition of $205,000 to our original budget estimate of $121,000. So we'd like to do a columbarium behind the city, behind the city cemetery office building. Wow, cemetery office building.
And we anticipate that the columbarium will basically pay for itself over time as
The
people pay for the
Phase
spaces?
one will cost more because it will be all the work and all of
stuff,
that.
yeah.
But by the time you get through a few phases, it should start to cover its own costs. But the initial part of that's going to end up costing more because of the concrete and the groundwork and everything. And then that part, we'd originally talked about doing a increase into the budget, the figures 205, because that includes the fees, impact fees, all of those different permits, everything that needs to go along with the building. So that's why that figure's a little bit higher than what you had heard previously.
Let's do it. It's long overdue.
Yes.
So.
Okay.
I have an elderly friend who tripped on the curb there out there a while back, or tripped in the stair going into the old place. So
Hey, so included in the budget that will be presented to you tonight is that $205,000 addition to this overall project of improving the cemetery with the building and the columbarium. Contingent upon approving that budget next week, we recommend that City Council award the bid of constructing the cemetery office building, the dual A construction, for $191,355.
the Tom Jett columbarium, he'll be the first guy in it because he was named after it. I mean, because he came up with the idea. We'll give him, he can move in first.
How about we don't decide who can move in when?
I think the cemetery is hoping they can fill it before then, but.
So, all right. We good with this going on the consent agenda? Okay, thank you. Item number 7, consider streetlight blanket contract.
Jeff Hunter, Street Department. So the first item, turn something on, Kit.
That's a bear in a coal
I'm
mine.
not gonna let you run that.
So I hope in your packet you have all of the blanket contracts that were sent out and proposals that came back. As far as the streetlights, we got one bid. We heard that Barney Electric that had it 2 years ago, had gotten some numbers together. We thought they were going to bid, but this was the only one we received. So we've been using Marshall Evans the last 2 years. We're happy with him. I suggest we just go with them.
It's similar in terms of orders of magnitude to this year. And yeah, okay.
Yep. So I propose we stay with them on that one.
All right. Are there any other questions with that? Good with that to go on the consent?
Yep.
Okay, item number 8, consider annual blanket contract proposals.
Again, do I need to say my name again?
Yeah.
In these packets, we can go through them if you'd like, individually, or if you've had a chance to look at them. Would you like me to just go through them?
Yes, please.
All right. Okay, starting with the striping. We had 2 bidders, straight stripe and all-star striping. We propose we go with the low bidder, a straight stripe. We've been using them for several years. And so I propose we stay with them. Next one is blanket contract for the concrete.
Let me ask Jeff, did they bid on each specific item that you asked them to? Like you said, we want a 16-inch line from here to there.
Yeah.
You told them specifically what things you wanted this year.
No, we do a unit cost. So he'll say 16-inch thick lines, and it'll be so much per linear foot.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just have options that we can fall to depending on the situation.
But I see that you put in some quantities here, like you know
Yeah,
that you want 1,000 linear feet of 8-inch line. That's just
to
okay.
flag that.
All right.
But I mean, previous years that we've
from past experience.
Okay. So
So if we can stretch our budget and we get more painting out of it, then that's the prices they'll charge us.
Okay.
Okay, the concrete this year, it's getting less and less, I guess, people bidding. They're, everyone's busy. I've talked to several of them and so the only bidder we had was Glebe, excuse me, Concrete. They've been doing our work for the last 2 years, and I'm fine with going with them again.
Looks to me like they know their business when I see the work they do. Just generally seems like they do a pretty good job. Is that true?
Yeah, we've had some, again, they're all busy. And so scheduling has been a little more difficult this year, but we're getting it done. But I propose we could go with those guys. Then we go to installed asphalt. We received 3 bids from Ashdown, Western Rock, and Sun Rock. Again, we did unit prices and just from past experience. Western Rock came in as a low bidder. I propose we use Western Rock for the total.
We washed them down some new gravel. They had to give us a little discount.
Yeah. And then for the street material supply contract, this one, we had Western Rock, Mel Clark, and Ashdowns. And this one, we've always broken it out with each, depending on price. And they've all been good with that. And so if you see here, we'll probably be using all 3 contractors they've each was, low bid in specific areas. So we'll go ahead with those.
So the one guy gives you cheaper on
Yeah, on hot mix
material and another guy gives you, okay.
Yeah, and a lot of times for us with the hot mix, for our skin patching, and if we're ready to go and one of these contractors are busy or using a different product, making a different product that day, we've had to go to the next bidder anyway. It's kind of flexible.
Was that Cove Drive thing a product problem or a temperature problem?
Before the first time?
That kind of peeled off.
Yeah, this time looks.
It was a temperature problem.
Okay. So, okay.
You're using the same rock
Yes.
this year that you did last year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it appears to be a little smaller.
That's what
It's
Are you
slightly
working on
smaller.
that right now? Or
No, we chipped, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's all,
Right.
yeah.
Should go for a
The-
lovely drive.
So then the crack seal, chip seal oil materials, that's our flushing and chip oil. We had two bidders for the oil and only one on the crack seal product. And so for the crack seal product, we have Craftco that we will use. And then for the chip seal oil and flushing, we have 2 different contractors. So we basically are using all 3 of those contractors with certain items. And then the applicator is one I talked with you before, as far as getting operators to come and spray for us. That's been a tough one. JT has bid it every year for as long as I've been here. And, but he's getting busier. He's hard to schedule. The other guy we used last week came from Salt Lake. He gave us actually the same price or a little bit less, because he had a free spot. And so we've been using these 2 guys back and forth, just trying to get a slot for us, because we're competing against all the other cities trying to. So I guess this is one, I guess we just mark it as we got a bid, and and we'll hold the other guy to the price. But he wouldn't bid it because he just says, I don't want to be tied down.
Gee whiz.
Oh, they're busy. He's gonna build another truck for next year because of the demand. So hopefully be a little easier for us next year. The street crack seal, we had 3 bidders. Spencer Asphalt appears to be the low bidder, and we've been using him now for 7 years that I know, and so we'll stay with him. The tree trimming.
Oh,
Yeah, no tree trimming bid.
We had, well, he was late. And so my question, pardon me?
We rebid it.
So that would be my suggestion is we just rebid this one because he got here past the deadline. And so he's the only one that's brought us one in, and he's the only one that's bid it for the last 7 years. And so I think we should just rebid this one.
Well, it's a service we really need, and
Right.
we don't get somebody on contract.
Yep.
Then we're scrambling to find people, and I know Brian's guys use them sometimes too, so.
Yeah, and I have his bid here, but it's just late.
Yeah, let's just rebid it.
Okay.
overall, all of these, have the bids gone up considerably or stayed?
They're
close to the
staying
same?
fairly close. Yeah, they're all staying real close. We're worried a little bit about the oil prices, but
Yeah.
we're they went up a little bit, but. And then the last one is car towing. The only bidder we got was Bradshaw Chevrolet. So, and we've been using them several years too. So just a lot less bidders this year.
Does anybody
Everybody's
know
busy.
which hour that 23-hour towing does not tow?
The hour you need them.
Probably, yeah.
Any
Thanks, Jeff.
questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions or
Jeff.
anything? Okay, we'll put this on the consent agenda. Thanks so much. Okay, item number 9, consider sewer line repair and replacement blanket contract.
Eric Bonzo, wastewater superintendent. Again, this is a request bid proposal for a blanket contract for sewer line repair and replacement. The blanket contract bid request was advertised per city purchasing requirements, went in the newspaper, on the city website, was sent to 2 plan holder companies, and the bid request packages were given to Precision Pipe, Schmidt Construction, and John Orton Excavating. We got one back, and it was from John Orton Excavation. They're our previous company that's doing our repairs now. What I saw within the contract as compared to the 2016 was very, very minimal change at all. There was a little bit of price increase on sewer manhole rings, grade rings, cones, very minimal, and actually a reduction in cost in the core drilling. So.
Now, when a water line breaks, I always see our city guys repairing the water lines. Why do we switch over to this on the sewer lines? Is it just more involved?
It's more involved. We don't have the equipment to
Okay.
do it. And like I said, Johnny Orton, from what I've saw since I've been in this position, I've been on a few now of some repairs. If we have an emergency repair, they're right there on the spot. They do a great job. They're safe. They do a clean job. They do a great compaction, and they're right on top of asphalting the repair quickly when it's done.
Very good.
All right, great. Any other questions? We'll put this on the consent.
That's one thing we don't want being busted.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 10, consider whether or not to amend Chapter 34 of the city ordinances, which outline the requirements to operate a taxi cab in the city.
So the state of Utah has recently changed their requirements in order to operate a taxi cab in the state. Prior to this change, you needed to get a taxi cab endorsement. So our city ordinance reflects that as well. Utah's recently dropped that requirement. So the question is, does the city want to drop it as well? We have the ability to keep it in. Essentially what an endorsement is You pay a little extra for it, and then you take a closed book test. Whereas if I just showed up to get my driver's license, that's an open book test. Other than that, there's still taxi cabs are still required to get inspection, safety inspection, and things like that. So the question really is do we want to keep that endorsement or not? The test will still be offered.
Who does the monitoring of the safety inspection? Who do they
go to?
Yeah, is it, no, I mean, do they bring that into the city or?
Yeah, and they're also just required with their registration through the DMV to have that done.
Oh, so they register through the DMV.
Yeah.
What about Uber drivers? How's that working?
I don't know. I
That
don't
maybe
think
will
anyone
inspire
knows
the
right
state change.
To drop it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Well, the only difference there basically is that test, but I wonder, has anybody addressed their 25 questions different than standard driving rules?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the big difference is in closed book and one's not.
One's not.
So you're saying we have the option of keeping it stricter or going with the state's relaxed policy?
Correct.
All right. Are there other comments, questions? This will go on the action agenda. So you have a whole week to think about.
But I'm not going to be able to think because Jason Norris is next on the.
Mind numbing.
And I am so excited.
I actually really am excited. Item number 11, public hearing to consider approving the fiscal year 2017-2018 budget.
Jason Norris, Finance. Hope I can deliver a riveting budget.
You've never failed yet.
Thank you. So, yeah, my first item is for our upcoming fiscal 18 budget. As you recall, we've had all of the departments come in and present to council, and based on our original discussions from our tentative budget, we had a few issues that we needed to follow up on and some solutions we wanted to come up with for a few budget items. Most of those changes that I've made to the tentative budget are for capital items, so I'm just going to touch on those changes. The first one was in our streets department to complete 800 West access to Coal Creek Road. That's a $140,000 project that we're adding, that we're funding with C Road funds. As Trevor mentioned a moment ago, we've added about 15,000 to the cemetery building proposal for impact fees, building permit, fixtures and furniture and things of that. After we follow it up with the engineers, that's where we're at on that facility. In leisure services, we are going to fund $8,000 to upgrade our scheduling and
Software.
We're upgrading our software. Admissions. We run admissions and schedulings for all of parks and recreation through that, as well as the web-based component for registrations. So we're going to try to upgrade to a software that's going to work better for them. They'll do an RFP and we'll come back to council with some recommendations on that. In the airport, I spoke with Jeremy today. We're going to plug in our discretionary share for the city's part of the grant that we've requested. That the FAA has discretionary funds that they may or may not fund. They'll let us know in August, but our end of it's about $158,000 from our passenger facility charges. That project, the total grant we're requesting is in the neighborhood of $4 million. So the FAA may fund some or none of that, but we've budgeted our end of it so they know that they have our match. So we'll let you know in the fall if that comes through. Also, we followed up on the rotary cutter for trimming weeds and things of that nature around the airport. We were wondering if we had something suitable in other departments, but it's an attachment to their big tractor out there. So that's $25,000, and we will be funding that. And then I think I mentioned previously that the golf course tractor that we funded, they estimated it would be about 25,000, but once we got serious about it, it looks like it's more in the $35,000 range. So we've increased that a little bit.
That's the one that conveniently blew up right before they came to meet with us about budgets.
Then we just had some minor operating changes to a few budgets, but nothing substantial. We had some leases and telephone and things of that nature. So that's primarily our changes from the tentative. If the council has any questions.
I want to declare for the record that my wife is a city employee. I usually do every year when it gets down to the final budget. So this item and item 13, if anybody asks or if they don't know, that I do have a spouse that works for the city. I'll declare that now, and then it'll be on the record before we vote next week.
Are there any questions from the council related to the budget? All right. Then with that, we will open our public hearing. If anyone that is still here would like to address the council.
Good evening, Tom Jett. Now that I've had my power nap, I'm probably a little bit better with it.
I'm feeling kind of bad because I was mentioning your power nap during the columbarium discussion, and you weren't here to hear it.
I'd just like to make note that, you know, we have a lot of departments in the city, and I yet to really see a bad performance. But one that's, I'm going to use the term, kind of a sleeper, is without intentionally, is our budget department. And we don't even know they exist, but the city benefits greatly by the work that this department constantly does quietly and behind the scenes, and keeps us in the black, and you know, I'm sure the public appreciates it, recognizes it, and thank you. And it has a lot of, you know, thank yous that they just don't express. But, you know, I would just publicly say thank you for the work that our budget department does conservatively and quietly, and without making it political, and you know, to make this city operate the way that it operates. So thank you, Jason. Thank you to all of your staff.
All right. Is there anyone else? No? Then we will close the public hearing. And this will go on our action agenda since it'll be a resolution. Yes. All right. Item number 12, consider approval of the certified tax rate.
All right, so just consider that a place marker.
And your name.
Jason Norris.
There we go.
Consider me a place marker as well. Because I'll be moving on to the next item as well. But certified tax rate, we approve that every year, and it's a number that the county comes up with, and it's our job to approve that. We are not increasing property taxes or any kind of taxes at all. This is the rate does fluctuate, and a component of that is our debt service on a few facilities we have that was approved long ago before we entered into those debt obligations, and then we just have our operating tax component of that, like I say, it fluctuates depending on how real estate values fluctuate for property owners. So we probably won't have the actual number for probably a couple of weeks, but we'll just keep that on our agenda until we have it. So.
Thank you. Okay, item number 13, public hearing to consider amending the fiscal year 2016-17 budget.
Jason Norris, Finance again. So June is the last month in our fiscal period for fiscal 17. So we usually do 2 budget revisions during the year. This is our second one. And it shows cumulatively with the other revision that we did in the changes I have in the change column. So not all of those changes are new. It's just reflecting all the changes we've made throughout the year. Primarily the revisions that we have in this budget are, we have various grants, both state, federal, and then private grants we've received. One you'll see in like the fire department is from Firehouse Subs. They gave a private grant to the fire department. That's reflected in there. We also have a very large grant that we act as a pass-through for the housing authority. That was $122,000 change, but that's not actually an operation of our city finances. We just have to pass that through for them. We also have miscellaneous revenues that come in throughout the year. Those can be anything from contribution to do something with a sidewalk, or we had a hazmat response with the fire department. We had to get reimbursed by the company that had a spill, and we had to buy hazmat suits that are single use, as well as in our police department. There's various things we respond to and are reimbursed for. We did a lot of in-house training this year with some other agencies, so we collected all the admission for those trainings, and then those are processed through our accounts. So those are the majority of the operating changes. I can go through them one by one if you need more of a power nap, or that's just pretty much what we're seeing there. This last month, a new item that we were unaware of, we had a break in the HVAC system at the library. So that was about a $10,000 repair. We decided we'd probably let them have AC if they'll be nice to us. So that's reflected in there. We had made a commitment earlier in the year to participate a little bit with the school district on their tennis courts. So we had talked about giving them a $50,000 contribution on behalf of the public for use of the tennis courts, and that we're going to pay out of our transient room tax fund. We know summer games and a few other events are also held on those facilities there, so we'll get that distribution made. Every year at the end of the year, we transfer funding from our general fund over to our capital improvement fund. I put in the number of $2.2 million. It'll probably be less than that we transfer over. Now that's going to include excess revenue we had from the fires that our guys went out and participated in. We had the distribution from the county of $200,000 that over in reserve for the library for future expenditures they had. And then, as you'll recall from our audit, we're getting a little bit high with our fund balance. State allows us 25%, and we're a little over 22%. So I've just got to move the additional funds over to the capital improvement fund. And of course, nothing comes out of that fund without council approval. So that will go there. And then we had a few minor operating changes, and then we're still looking into it a little bit, but we're running high on our payroll at the aquatic center with lifeguards and staff out there. We do have revenue to cover it in the aquatic center, but we're going to plug in a number of about 25,000 to get us through the season. And then we're going to have to follow up and see how our change in hours and things are affecting that operation, if we're comfortable with hourly payroll at that level going forward. But that was something we hadn't anticipated.
Are our parks temporary employees doing okay? We getting what we need, what we're paying? Nod your head and I'll say your name and say which way your head went. Okay.
Wade Parks Division, could you clarify your question? I mean,
you were having a hard time hiring people at the rate we were paying. Did we make any adjustment, or do you have the people you need now?
We are staffed. What we are staffed with, though, we have a number of high school students that are working 40 hours a week right now throughout the summer, but we will lose them come August, and we will be back to a situation where we'll be short-staffed, hopefully.
So you'll still have a month or two of summer left without people to work?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So we're okay for now, but we can anticipate a shortage at the end of the summer.
And if everything is approved in the
new
budget, then that will be another full-time position for him that he doesn't currently have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And I just remembered one last thing. I'll have to change before next week. We have, as I've mentioned before, with our aquatic center, we have a Build America bond, and they periodically sequester some of that interest that the federal government funds. So,
what does that mean?
They just aren't going to pay it. Boom, sequestered.
So I had went back through my emails this morning and forgot about that. So that's $8,000 different than what.
Is that like walking into a bank and saying you want to sequester some of their money with a gun?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
All right.
So anyway, I'll have to adjust that in our debt service funds for next week. But that's all I have for the revision. And then I can answer any questions for council.
There are additional questions with the council related to the budget revision.
Thanks, Jason.
Right, then we will open our public hearing. If there's anyone that would like to address the council. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. This will also go on the action agenda. And our last item, committee appointments to determine, or for the Downtown Parking Authority and Library Board, I am recommending that we reappoint Steve Jolly for the Downtown Parking Authority. And for the library, the two new members would be Bruce Winslow and Lee Montgomery. Both are actually have been actively participating in the library and are thrilled with that opportunity to serve.
And we almost need like what do they have in juries, that one person just kind of sits there and they don't do anything unless
Alternate.
somebody
You're an
passes
alternate?
an alternate board member, because we've just had way too many times we're sitting there and we don't have a quorum.
And these two that was one of the things, these two have both committed that they want to attend and will be there.
Okay.
So, are we good with those going on the consent? And
Motion to adjourn and move into one of the other meetings. The meeting of
RDA.
The RDA meeting.
yes. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Fred had some new music I sent him.
Nope,
It's a good song.
nope,
It's not a
no,
Texas song.
no.
Out of Texas.
Natasha's new here and she needs help. I'm not gonna play Tom's song because I can't find it, but
Was it the Alaskan national
I am
anthem?
gonna take.
it's not Istanbul, it's Constantinople.
Yeah.
Don't ask. Don't smell it.
It ain't water, baby. There's nothing in it now.
Points were very well taken. Just what it looks like. That's it. I just don't want us to, this may need to be an agenda item going forward.
That's why he has to label it. So we know what it is.
Visit them. 30%. See, I, for one, want people who own property to be able to develop that property as they stuff it.
That's one of the.
I'm a firm believer in free
I
enterprise.
did. Thank you very much. And it's very sad
Property rights.
because, because he wanted to run for city council and because of the state retirement system things, he can't retire beyond the council unless he can live on 12,000 a
That'll
year.
drive some of it, right? Because
So I just wrote a letter to
bankers,
our
if they see a development that they're
congressman
concerned will become
see if we can change that.
wasteland, they wouldn't fund it, right? And so the system would work.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
I love that.
You never heard back from her, huh?
So no, your points are very well taken.
Yeah, and she didn't tell me who that was, so I couldn't relay that. Said he's agreed to patch it and do everything and just volunteered to do it, but he didn't have any way to get up to that ceiling, so.
Just razzing you.
So, yeah, well, yeah. Oh, I'm great. That's great. Yeah, that you offered that. That's super for them.
We had that same problem with the car.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new music.
It'd be pretty close there, wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's great if we could do it.
Even Hank was new
I'd check
music
in.
once. Got to keep an open mind. I set aside my fair young.
Somebody might, yeah.
Rolled down the window of my pickup truck. Sailed it like a frisbee. It's a beautiful thing. Praise the Lord above. Sail through the air on the wings of a dove. Hear the angels sing. It's a beautiful thing.
Right above the shell. So I don't know.
Hey, Ron, we're ready.
Ready?
Yes. Hey, thank you.
Which one? Same one little parts I was talking about. We have a shoot in It's longer than 150 feet.
On what topic what did you say?
The tax, remember we said.
Oh, the tax. Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
on the Watson ordinance.
Yeah.
It's like when the side dish is getting low, you snacks and
You bet.
across the table.
So are we in RDA, Ron?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're going to do RDA first.
It's a beautiful thing.
All right, we're ready to go. We'll call our RDA Redevelopment Agency meeting to order for June 7th, 2017. We got 3 items on the business agenda. First one is to consider a resolution establishing procedures related to the approval of the board's minutes. Tyler?
So the purpose of this resolution is just because the board meets so infrequently, this just gives us a procedure to be able to go through and adopt them easier. We can do it through email if you had a chance to read it.
Super. Any other discussion on it? Okay, we'll move it forward to the next meeting then.
Makes sense.
Action. Okay. Item number 2 is a public hearing to consider approving the 2017-2018 budget.
We just say ditto.
We'll have him be official, state his name again.
Jason Norris, Finance. We didn't make any changes to the RDA or the MBA, but I'll repeat that in both meetings.
Okay.
It's just like Christmas.
Any other questions? All? Okay, since this is a public hearing, we'll open a public hearing for anybody that would like to address the council on this item. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move to item number 3 to consider amending the 2016-2017 budget.
We just thought we'd put that on the agenda in case something changed. We haven't amended anything yet. We're going to do one more review of our lens project between issuing a bond, having the project completed and in our work on the parking lot, as well as we made a debt service payment this year. So I'll triple check that before next week, but we didn't adjust anything yet.
Okay.
Hear me?
Yes.
All about, and I didn't. From to the.
Yeah, so I usually do zero-based budgeting in the RDA, but I did adjust that rent revenue from 300,000 to 325,000, and then we just budgeted the difference to go into the fund balance. So we did make that change on the budget, but
Okay.
expenditures didn't increase.
All right. Any other comments? If not, we'll.
Motion to.
Just a minute, we'll open a public hearing on
Sorry,
this
yeah.
item.
I wanna hear
Anybody
the-
would like to address it?
The public outrage.
Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Motion
That
to adjourn this meeting and move into the Municipal Building Authority work meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Terry, I didn't have you hear you second anything else. I think we're gonna start over. This is the first one I've heard
Haven't made
tonight.
any motion. Does that interfere with Fred's?
No, we already did that.
We got another meeting.
Okay.
One more meeting.
I'm just teasing you, Terry. Wake
One more
up.
meeting.
Just me and you on that one, and then.
However, this now means, Fred, when you're sitting on the beach, no excuse not to be on conference call.
It works very well.
Do we need some more music? I was
No.
only halfway
No.
through It's a Beautiful Thing by the Tractors.
I think we're good. Go Warriors.
Ron?
Okay, we'll call the Municipal Building Authority work meeting to order for June the 7th, 2017. Got 3 items on this business agenda as well. First one is to consider the resolution establishing procedures related to approval of the agency's minutes.
So this is the exact same resolution as we just talked about, just with a different title. Allows minutes to be approved through email.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move that on. Okay, item number 2 is a public hearing to consider approving the 2017-2018 budget. Anything to add, Jason? We better have you stand up.
Jason Norris Finance. No, we didn't make any changes. Just as a review, we just finance our 2 big fire trucks through the MBA. So we run our debt service payment through there.
Okay. This also requires a public hearing, so we'll open the public hearing. Anybody interested in addressing the council on it?
I see a group of people approaching with pitchforks.
Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Move on to item 3, which is to consider amending the 2016-2017 budget.
Jason Norris Finance. We just put that on the agenda since we're having the meeting, and then we'll double check the numbers, but we shouldn't have any changes to the current year budget.
Okay.
Pretty well driven everybody out of the room, Jason.
I'm trying. You hanging on.
So, no, we'll open a public hearing if anybody wants to comment. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and I'll entertain another motion.
Motion to adjourn the Municipal Building Authority work meeting and move back.
Nope, just that.
We're done. Motion.
All in favor?
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Good.
Okay, Brad. Aye.
Gotta get your signature on that.
Oh, I'm the
Municipal.
secretary.
Yeah. These are for
Okay.
those resolutions we did last time.
Like I say, go Warriors, go Warriors.
Nicely done, Mr. Norris.
What's happening at the basketball?
How are you? Good. How are you doing?
It's, the Warriors are up 2-0.